Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I am filming a review of a pen from Montegrappa. This is the first Montegrappa pen I have reviewed, and this is their entry-level pen, the Elmo. So this is how it comes packaged. Simple cardboard outer sleeve or outer box, and then a really nice bigger box with a nice little nameplate on the front there and their logo embossed all over it. Opens up, the pen normally sits in here, then you get a few bits and pieces under the tray, a couple of cartridges, a little warranty book, all those kinds of usual things. The pen, as I said, is the Elmo, and this is what it looks like. Now, when I first saw this pen, the first thing that came to my mind was that it kind of reminded me of a grown-up Pilot Metropolitan. A couple of basic sort of simple things, slightly bigger pen, but those sort of rounded ends, the silver clip and the little silver band there around the end of the cap, just sort of like reminded me of the Pilot Metropolitan. So the Elmo is kind of described as a Bauhaus era inspired design, and the name is named after the technical director of Italy's first pen factory, Heinrich Helm, who sort of founded it in 1927. It is a resin body pen with a steel nib and with stainless steel trim. It's Italian made. It has a Jovo nib there, number 6 Jovo nib. It is very nicely sort of branded with the Montegrappa hexagonal kind of overlaying weave pattern and then their name. So I'm going to go through the parts and features of this pen, talk about what I like, all that kind of stuff to a writing sample. So starting at the top of the pen, it is simply a rounded resin top. The cap swells out to this center band where you get a little stainless steel ring there. The clip is cut into the cap there, and it is pretty flexible, and it's got one of those little balls on the end there, but with it being that flexible, it's fairly usable. It's engraved stylishly there with the name Montegrappa, and then the barrel of the pen continues along and then tapers down to another simple rounded end. It's very simple, very minimalist in a lot of ways. So you unscrew the pen in about 1 1/4 turns, very nice and comfortable. There is a considerable step down there, and it is a harsh step down. There's no beveling on it or anything like that. Some sort of blocky threads, and then a sort of tapered section, and as I said, the number 6 stainless steel nib and plastic feed. So fairly simple pen, standard international cartridge and converter. It comes with a threaded converter, so it's threaded into the section there, which is a kind of like a trait you see in a number of Italian fountain pens. But it does take, the standard international cartridges as well as were provided. So as I said earlier, the nib is made by Jovo, and I've seen, this is a medium that I have here. I have seen it provided with extra fine, medium broad, and a couple of different stub options, 1.1 and 1.5, kind of depending on where you get it. The pen retails for €175 on the Montegrappa website. So that is 205 to 210-ish US dollars. Now, this is their entry-level model. This is their most affordable fountain pen. And when you are talking about Montegrappa, you are talking about a brand that has pens that sort of do go up into the thousands of euros. So yes, this is a very affordable pen on their scale, but it is not a cheap fountain pen. Nothing from Montegrappa is going to be cheap. The next model up, the Fortuna, is about €215. So €40 more than this Elmo edition. And there are many versions of the Fortuna as well. Let's do a size comparison. So here I have the Montegrappa Elmo next to a Lamy Safari, and you can see they are a fairly similar length fountain pen. Good sort of stock standard size. Uncapped, the Lamy just starts to edge out a little bit in terms of length, but that number 6 size nib means that when you hold it, you're actually holding it it feels a little shorter again in the back of your hand. Yes, the Elmo does post. It's a good feature of this pen. It does make it a long pen. The balance doesn't go too off, which is good, but it does make it a fairly long pen in the hand. And the posting is, while secure, it's not particularly deep, and there's a bit of movement in it. But as I said, it does make it quite a long pen. But because it's not super deep, that threading does sit the edge of the clip there, which is a noticeable ridge, sits behind your hand there. What are the specifications of the Montegrappa Elmo? Well, 141 millimeters when it is capped. Uncapped, it's 128, which for most people should be an okay size. If you've got really big hands, you might start to feel that. The only thing you do start to feel if you hold the pen further back is you do start to feel that ridge and those threads just there. They're not sharp, but you do really feel them. And then posted, it is 163 millimeters, which makes it, as I said, quite a long pen. Now, the thing you do notice when you are holding, as I said, you do feel those threads and the edge of the barrel there under your fingers. It's not uncomfortable, but because this section is around the 10.5 millimeter mark, it's not super thick, you do feel like it sort of does balloon out behind your fingers on that ridge there. The weight of the pen is 28 grams in total, of which 21 is in the body and 7 is in the cap. So a quarter of the pen's weight goes on the back, meaning the balance is actually fairly okay when it is posted. Let's do a writing sample now. As always, this is my standard Clairefontaine 90 gram paper. I should say this is the black model of the Montegrappa of the Elmo. There are many, many different versions of the material available. And they sort of do like limited releases and exclusives and things like that as well, as far as I'm aware, as far as I know. But this is just sort of standard black with the the stainless steel trim there. This is a medium steel nib. I said it's made by Jovo, but very, very branded by Montegrappa. And I think probably has had a little bit of work done on it. It doesn't always feel like one of those stock standard Jovo nibs. It feels a little wetter and perhaps just slightly sort of smoother or something. The ink I'm using today is Colorverse. This is, I think it's called Delicious Sleep. It's a really interesting purple. It's not a bright, vibrant purple. It's not, nor is it like a violety or a darky sort of purple. It's very stock standard, but it's got a bit of a, dusty sort of muted feel to it. Let's see the pen. Okay, it is fairly smooth, and I wouldn't even say fairly smooth, I'd say it is smooth. It's really pleasant to write with. It's fairly wet, it is fairly wet. It's laying down a really lovely line and sort of a amount of ink, and that patch is very even and the flow is great. So hats off to them for that. Reverse writing is actually quite pleasant. I'm sure it starts to dry out, but you can get a couple of words without too much problem, and it's fairly smooth. It is not a flex nib. It is not soft. It is rigid. Not designed for that. All you are doing is pushing a little bit more ink down and just making it slightly wetter. Fast writing, see how it keeps up with that. We had one little hard starty skip, but that was pretty violently written on my behalf. And so I've never had a problem with this nib. I've never had hard starts or skips or anything like that, really that are noticeable. I think it lays down a lovely line of ink. It's consistent. It's probably ever so slightly, I would say, broader than a standard Jowo medium, but that is sometimes what you do find from Italian fountain pens. And you do find that they are tuned to be slightly wetter, and as you can see, this is a fairly wet writer, which I enjoy. It's, as I said, it's smooth, it's reliable, and it's a nice pen in the hand to write with. So let's talk pros and cons now for the Montegrappa Elmo. Okay, the only con, con and a half. The half con is that ridge there off the barrel. It's, if you want these lines of the pen, smooth cap through the barrel, you are going to have some sort of step down there. There has to be somewhere for the cap to dock, right? But that's quite a sharp, it's not sharp, it's just quite a noticeable ridge. And because it's not a huge section and it's not particularly thick, you do find that you sort of use that ridge as a way of holding the pen. So some people may find that a little bit uncomfortable. The only real con for me is the price of this pen. Now, I purchased this myself, and I actually managed to find it at a particularly good price on sale through a retailer in the UK. So I got it a little bit cheaper, but the stock sort of standard price, €175, which, as I said, is 205 to 210 US dollars as I'm filming this, puts this in still a fairly high price point, especially for a resin pen with a Jowo steel nib. Now, it's an Italian pen. It is not a handmade Italian pen, but it is an Italian pen. It comes from a luxury brand. Montegrappa is a luxury brand. Their next model up, €215. So we're talking, coming up to around, 300 American dollars for the basic Fortuna model. There are a couple of other models as well that sort of do in this realm from them. But their pens range up into the absolute thousands. A personal favourite of mine is that limited edition moon landing pen, which comes in at €6,700. So we are talking a lot of money for some of their pens, and they have everything in between. They can do ridiculous looking pens, legitimately ridiculous and over the top. Even that moon landing thing is over the top. But then they can do something like this, which is simple and elegant and a classic and refined design. But it does harken back to their early days. And I think that's where this sort of design simplicity does come from. And I enjoy that. But as their entry-level pen at over 200 US dollars for a steel nibbed cartridge converter plastic fountain pen, you are talking on the high end of what is doable for a pen like this. Now, in saying all of that, that simplicity is absolutely beautiful. It's a classic, elegant design. The nib, super nice. You saw in the writing sample, puts down a beautiful line. The flow is great. It's a lovely pen to write with. I enjoy things like the threaded converter. It's a nice touch. It's just that little bit of extra security that converter is not going to go anywhere, and makes filling it feel just a little bit more secure. I enjoy the size and weight of the pen. It's not a light pen. It is a lighter pen. But it feels nice in the hand. It's balanced. It's got a fairly sort of a very usable weight in terms of an everyday writing weight or for long writing sessions. And I've had no issues with this pen sort of drying out halfway through writing sessions or having flow issues or anything like that. So lots to be commended. While I'm talking about Montegrappa, and I mentioned their ridiculously expensive pens and their ridiculous designs, one feature they have that I actually really love and would love to explore is there's a couple of pens, including the Fortuna, where you can do a make your own pen, and so that you have the model and then you get to choose the color of the the plating or the nib size or the color of the barrel and the cap and the the little end caps and things like that. So in the section you can go through and engrave the pen as well, all these kinds of things, and you can actually get the model of the pen in whatever sort of, from their range, in whatever color combination you want. Like if you wanted to, you could have like a green cap and a blue section and a gray body, and if that's what you want, that's what you can get. So if you wanted to customize your pen to like be your sports team's colors or your country colors or whatever the case may be, there is a way of doing that, which is quite cool. Okay, anyway, this video was about the Montegrappa Elmo, a really nice pen, very, very nice pen, but not a inexpensive pen for what you get. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here, or drop me an email, which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, I would love to hear from you. It's your support that makes this channel possible, after all. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.